Well, folks, we have a bunch of news for Nintendo Switch 2 today. Some exciting stuff with some commitments from, no, not Sarah Bond, leader of Xbox, not Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond's boss. Actually, Phil Spencer's boss. How about the CEO of Microsoft fully committing to bringing pretty much things everywhere, including Switch 2. It's kind of wild that this is going all the way to the top of Microsoft, and that's where we're getting some of this news from today. That's kind of crazy. But beyond that developing story, I guess the story's kind of over. Just expect all their games to be everywhere. We have to talk about a new rumor surrounding Luigi's Mansion 4, baby. And some other Switch 2 stuff in between. I'm pretty excited about this. You guys, I hope, are excited as well. And before we dive in, I want to remind you, we're giving away 3 copies of Age of Imprisonment. Oh, man. I've been, dissecting Age of Imprisonment content today. There isn't anything really new, right? It's just, the same art, the same trailers. But the game's, next week, guys. It's next week. We're almost a week away. Whew. Oh, man. I just... Zelda just does something different for me. And we're giving away 3 copies. We're also giving away 5 copies of Kirby Air Riders as well. We have 2 different giveaway links for this stuff down in the pinned comment or the description. And let's go ahead and dive into this first story. And we're just going to kind of stick to Twitter because it's a really long interview. And it's like this big, long video show. But Charlie Intel here says, Microsoft CEO on the future of Xbox and the gaming business. We want to be a fantastic publisher. We're going to be everywhere on every platform. Yeah, Switch 2 is a platform. But we have a little bit more from Stefan Totillo, who was reporting on this as well. And we'll go ahead and look what he did. So he breaks it down as Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella was just on TBPN and provided one of the longer answers about his views on the game business that I've seen. He wants to put their games on everything, just like Microsoft Office. He wants to revisit console and PC paradigm, which we just kind of had rumors about that yesterday. And best way to innovate is to have good margins. So he says, remember, the biggest gaming business is the Windows business to us, gaming on Windows. And of course, Steam has built a massive marketplace on top of it and done a very successful job of it. So to us, the way we're thinking about gaming is, first of all, we're now the largest publisher after the Activision deal. So therefore, we want to be a fantastic publisher, similar to the approach that we did with Office. We're going to be everywhere, on every platform. We want to make sure, whether it's consoles, whether it's the PC, whether it's mobile, whether it's a cloud gaming or the TV, we want to just make sure games are being enjoyed by gamers everywhere. Second, we also want to do innovative work in the system side on the console and the PC. And it's kind of funny. What people think about the console PC is 2 different things. We built the console because we wanted to build a better PC, which could then perform for gaming. And so I kind of want to revisit some of that conventional wisdom. But at the end of the day, console has an experience that is unparalleled. It delivers performance that's unparalleled, that pushes, I think, the system forward. So I'm really looking forward to the next console, the next PC gaming. But most importantly, the game business model has to be where we have to invent maybe some new interactive media as well. Because after all, gaming's competition is not other gaming. Gaming's competition is short form video. And if we as an industry don't continue to innovate both how we produce and what we produce, how we think about distribution, the economic model, the best way to innovate is to have good margins, because that's the way you can fund. And he's talking about funding gaming. Obviously, good margins lets you fund more video game projects. Hence this report out there about wanting 30% margins. What's really interesting here, though, and I didn't realize this till now, is he said, gaming's competition is short form video. Maybe for Microsoft, if you talk about Microsoft on the whole as a business, maybe they view short form video as a competitor to their business or something. I'm going to be honest. I don't really understand how short form video has anything to do with gaming beyond people just making short form videos about your games. I guess if that's what you mean, but it's not really competition. They need your games to make that content. Okay, whatever. CEO talk about an industry they probably don't understand very well. That's why they have people like Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond there, people who get the gaming industry a bit better. That said, the biggest thing for us is obviously them, coming from the guy at the very top of Microsoft saying they're committed to bringing their things everywhere. Yes, we know that includes PlayStation 5 and obviously includes Switch 2 as well. It's just nice to see further commitment to that cause if you are a Switch 2 only gamer. Now, next up, this is a story that's kind of weird. It's been going on since before Switch 2 came out. If you remember, when Switch 2 launched, YouTube doesn't work. Let's just cut to the chase. YouTube does not work on Switch 2. And we've been wondering if and when it ever will. And YouTube keeps answering the questions. I got to give Team YouTube credit over on X. People keep asking them about when this is coming. And as of today, YouTube responded again with the same response they've been giving for months. Basically, it's going to be here when it gets here. Let's go ahead and look here. We needed a YouTube app for the Switch 2. This was around launch. We're working with Nintendo to make YouTube available on Switch 2. And then it says, appreciate your feedback. Stay tuned for updates. YouTube is not available on Switch 2. This is on June 7th. Let's fast forward a bit. Let's get out of the month of June because they, here's July here. Totally hear you on this. YouTube is not yet available on the Switch 2, but we hope to be offering it soon. Thanks for understanding. Totally hear you. YouTube is not ready yet available on Switch 2. This is in August. We can keep going. September. YouTube is not yet available on the Nintendo Switch 2. We hope to be offering it soon. It's kind of on repeat here where they kind of repeat the same rhetoric, sometimes with slightly different wording. Like, we understand your concern. YouTube is not yet available on the Switch 2. We hope to be offering it soon. It's a very company line over and over and over again, and they do this all the way into October. So the big thing here is they're continuing to say YouTube is not yet available. They're not saying it won't be available, but they hope to be offering it soon. My guess is it's still in active development. Now, what I find interesting about YouTube being in active development for Switch 2 is I don't really understand what the holdup is. Obviously, you could patch YouTube from Switch 1 to just run for now if you need to do a complete overhaul to make it run better. But we've seen games that weren't compatible, right? Backwards compatibility didn't work. They get a patch and now they work on Switch 2. So I'm very curious why this isn't happening. I'm wondering if there's a bit more going on than just, hey, we have to make our app compatible. What if there's like negotiations with Nintendo behind the scenes over their YouTube subscription service? And I don't really know, man. Maybe there's going to be greater integration. Like, this is my hope. My hope is the whole reason YouTube hasn't launched yet is it's going to have much greater integration than we're accustomed to. It's not just going to be an app to go watch videos and chat on like live streams and stuff. What if it's an app that you can actually live stream your games, like the Twitch app on other platforms? Something like that. That would be very interesting. And if that's the case, it could be a bit more understandable why they're taking a bit more time, because stuff like that would have to be custom built out for the Switch 2 hardware. That's my hope. And that's a lot of hopium based on literally nothing other than wishes and dreams. We have no idea why YouTube isn't on Switch 2, why there aren't any streaming services on Switch 2, like specific to Switch 2. Obviously, there's some on Switch 1 that might still work on Switch 2, but I haven't tested them. Like, I haven't tested Crunchyroll. I haven't tested Hulu. I don't know if those are working either. Those may or may not work. This is really interesting. I'm not sure why they're having such a hard time getting YouTube up and running on Switch 2. I'm not sure why Nintendo seems to be such a stickler about other streaming services. And, they clearly allow them to be there, like Hulu, but then they don't allow all of them. Like, we know about the battle with Netflix for some reason. I don't really get what's going on. I'm sure there's a lot of corporate mumbo jumbo negotiation bullshit behind the scenes. It just kind of sucks for us. And you might go, well, who's going to use their Switch 2 for this anyways? You're right. You can watch YouTube a billion different ways, but there are some situations where it's kind of nice, like when I'm playing Xbox, that if I just want to watch Netflix quick, I don't have to switch from my Xbox to the smart TV or any other thing. I can just click the Netflix app and just watch from there. Yeah, sometimes I watch Netflix through Xbox, sometimes through Apple TV, sometimes through the smart TV stuff. It's just a convenience. And to not have that convenience for what appears to be no real good reason, I don't know. It's one of the criticisms I had about Switch 1. And while YouTube was there, now we don't have YouTube, but they're supposedly working on it, but they have nothing to announce. Man, I don't know what's taking so long. Hopefully we have YouTube by Christmas. That's all we can really say. A story's going around now about Metroid Prime 4. And I've seen some headlines for this both in video form and on news websites that disappoint me a little bit because they didn't do their proper research. This happens. I make mistakes as well. But on stuff like this, sometimes you get people's hopes a little too high. You may have heard today that a rating has appeared for a Metroid Prime 4 demo. And if that's all you're seeing in the headlines, that's because they're clickbaiting you. And they're clickbaiting you to make you think a demo for Metroid Prime 4 is coming to Switch 2. I'm willing to bet that is actually not happening. And that is based on when this rating happened, which was all the way back in March. We have this article. Thankfully, I go to Nintendo doing the right thing with the headline. A demo just surfaced, but it might not be what you think. That is a good headline. That is the right way to do it. So it says Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is coming to Switch and Switch 2 on December 4th. Means we're 5 weeks away from Samus's latest adventure. Excitement from fans is reaching a fevered pitch, which means plenty of people are digging around to find any tidbit of information they can. That brings us to today's discovery, which is an interesting one. been discovered that the German USK, the ratings board for games, has listed a rating for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond's demo. While the listing was just discovered now, this is the thing, the rating was applied all the way back in March. This is important because this predates any public Metroid Prime 4 demos with the Switch 2 experience, Gamescom, etc. The rating could have literally just been for demos at those events. So, this could mean the rating, it says it right here in the article. Very good reporting by Go Nintendo. This could mean this rating was for a demo that was showcased at public events rather than a demo that we distributed via the Switch 2 or Switch eShop. Obviously, there's no way of knowing what the plans are. Yada, yada. Lots of conversation there. Look, I don't blame people for running with the headline, that's more clickbaity. Hell, I get the game. I'm not going to pretend that clickbait doesn't exist even at this channel. But what I will say is hopefully within the reports, everyone's being honest. If people aren't bringing up that this was all the way back in March, if people aren't bringing up that there's been public demos since then at the Switch 2 experience and Gamescom, and that this rating could have been for that particular demo, I don't know what to tell you, man. It kind of feels like a lot to do about nothing, but it doesn't mean we won't get a demo for the game on Switch and Switch 2. It just doesn't really increase the likelihood that we would, because again, this rating could have been for demos that literally hadn't happened yet. Now, before we get to our final topic is about Luigi's Mansion 4 rumor. We got to talk about Mario, his brother. Shigeru Miyamoto and Tezuka, all this, they're confident Mario is going to be around for a long time in a recent interview. So here over at Nintendo Life says Shigeru Miyamoto is confident Mario will be around for a long time to come. So it's incredible to think how much Mario has evolved since the early days back in the 80s. Starting as a simple, albeit incredibly intuitive 2D platformer, Mario has since developed the ability to fly, shoot water from the flood, traverse the literal depths of space, and transform into completely different characters via anthropomorphic hat known as Cappy. But of course, if Mario is to reach its 100th anniversary, remember we're celebrating the 40th right now, he'll need to evolve even more, and that's exactly what his creator Shigeru Miyamoto believes he'll do. Speaking via an interview in a special Nintendo Museum book to celebrate Super Mario's 40th anniversary, Miyamoto, alongside Takashi Tezuka, Koji Kondo, and Toshihiko Nakago, says that Mario will constantly evolve by incorporating new digital technology. Here are the quotes. Now, we're working in visual fields like movies, but I want to make sure we keep it interactive and digital. As long as we don't forget Mario's prime point, running and jumping as we add new things, I think Mario will be with us for a long time to come. Nintendo takes on unique challenges, and if a new technology is interesting, I believe that by incorporating that technology, we can make that fun and expand and grow like rolling up snow for a snowman. So I hope that you will continue to stick with us. Tezuka expands on this by stressing the need to keep players from getting bored while playing Mario games, stating that he's always thinking of how to keep it so that something like that doesn't happen, so that all people keep playing. And just in case you needed a bit of reassurance, Tezuka finishes by stating, we'll continue to make Mario games for a long time, so that's good to know. It is true that it can be very hard to keep an IP alive for as long as Nintendo has. It's kind of interesting because there are detractors out there that think Nintendo leans too heavily on their big IP, kind of milking the farm. Of course, if you think about how many mainline Mario games come out, it actually has slowed down over time rather than increased. But obviously we have the billion Mario spin-offs, right? And they all seem to sell pretty well, from the parties to the sports games and everything in between. The Mario games seem to do well. Mario's just very popular. But that's a kind of a credit to a company. It's very hard to keep a character this relevant for this long, and arguably even more relevant today than Mario has ever been in the past. And it's interesting because we think about other companies that have characters like this. We associate Mickey Mouse directly with Disney, but has Mickey Mouse really kept the same relevancy over time in the media space? Where are the Mickey Mouse movies? Where are, there are technically some Mickey Mouse cartoons on the Disney channels and stuff like that, but sometimes they're just reruns of old stuff, not necessarily new. Mickey Mouse video games like Epic Mickey and stuff like that aren't really that prevalent anymore. And Mickey Mouse is slowly becoming not really a household name. I'm going to be honest. If I say Mickey Mouse to my children, I'm not even sure if they're going to know who Mickey Mouse is. And if they do, it's probably just from like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse or something like that. It's not because they know anything beyond that. Like Mickey had video games, Mickey had movies, Mickey had all this. What? Like they don't know any of this stuff. So Nintendo, to their credit, has not let Mario fall off like that. So I do think that, you can call it milking IPs all you want. it's actually pretty hard to keep an IP alive and thriving this long. I think where some people view it as a negative, others view it as a positive, because it is very hard. Look how hard it's been to keep Star Wars going at its peak. Look how hard it's been to keep, the Marvel Cinematic Universe even just keep going at its peak. It's hard to keep things going for a long time, and Mario's been going, pretty much as long as, well, I guess Star Wars and the rest. So I gotta say that credit to Nintendo for keeping Mario super relevant and being able to innovate and continue to innovate the character and what it can do and the ways we can experience it and have fun with it. Honestly, I think this is a credit to a company's ability to do this. A lot of companies can't do this. And the reason IPs fall off are either because the creator themselves is done with it, like Earthbound 3, right? The reason Earthbound ended is, the creator of Earthbound was just done with the series. Or it happens because a company can't keep it relevant enough and it kind of falls off, fades into the sunset. It's time to move on to new stuff, right? So speaking of moving on to the new stuff, let's get to Luigi's brother. So we have an exciting rumor, and there's not a whole lot to it. It's a very simple statement. It comes on a recent video / podcast episode from Nash Weedle. We have talked about Nash Weedle before. He is a rumor person. He's gotten a number of stuff right, most recently Assassin's Creed, but a whole bunch of other stuff in the past for Nintendo Switch 2 in particular this year. And look, I can't understand his show, and I don't want to rely on closed captions all the time to make these reports, although this is a very simple one. So I watched Andres Restart's video on this, who does know how to speak Spanish, and it's very, very simple. Not complicated, pretty hard to mess this up. Nash Weedle does not provide a lot of details. It's simply put that Luigi's Mansion 4 is in development. That doesn't mean it's coming next year. That doesn't mean it's coming soon. That doesn't mean we're going to see it soon. Or it could mean we're going to see it next year. There's no additional details given other than Luigi's Mansion 4 is in development. Now, I obviously think Luigi's Mansion 4 being in development is kind of a no-brainer statement. Like, duh. Luigi's Mansion 3 sold crazy well. It's the highest seller Luigi's Mansion ever. Nintendo would be stupid to not have a fourth one coming. But what's also really exciting is, there's this idea that Nintendo hasn't really had a showcase game for Switch 2. Like, if you think of one game right now that from Nintendo, literally published by Nintendo that defines Switch 2, you're probably going to think of Donkey Kong Bonanza, maybe Mario Kart World. But both of those games started as Switch 1 games. And Luigi's Mansion 3 is widely considered one of the best looking games on Switch 1. And a lot of people judge like defining games off graphics. It's really unfortunate that that's just the way the world works, but Nintendo really hasn't had a graphic showcase game. And while Luigi's Mansion would obviously be using the Mario art style, Luigi's Mansion 3, even using that same art style as like Mario Odyssey and all the rest, really dominated it with the beauty of its game. So this could be a showcase game for Switch 2 in that sort of art direction. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm really excited whenever we get Luigi's Mansion 4, because who doesn't want more Luigi in our lives, man? Like Luigi. We did a whole year of Luigi in the past. Like, I'm wearing green. Luigi wears green. Milwaukee Bucks play tonight. Luigi wins when he wears green. Bucks gonna win when they wear green? Actually, I don't think they wear green tonight because they're at home. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Robojans from Nintendo Prime. Woo! It's been a lovely video. Can't wait to chat with all of you guys tonight. And as always, I'll catch you there or on another video tomorrow.